Welcome to Amplify Your Mindset with Ricky Kalmon. Motivational speaker, mindset expert, and celebrity hypnotist Ricky Kalmon has amazed audiences around the world. Kalmon empowers his audience with simple but powerful techniques to boost confidence and belief toward their goals and to exceed their own personal and professional expectations. Each episode features business leaders, motivators, and incredible individuals who share how mindset has contributed to their success. Put awareness and action into your life with the confidence that you'll succeed at the things you want to make happen. Here is Ricky Kalmon.
Hi, this is Ricky Kalmon. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of my podcast. I truly am so grateful that you've tuned in and you're subscribing. And if you're not a subscriber and if this is your first time, I urge you to subscribe to the podcast. Every week, I promise you, new guests that are compellingly inspiring and motivating, that share stories of their success and sometimes even their failures, and how mindset has driven them past their own expectations. Worked really hard to find new guests. We have some really exciting new episodes coming up in the future. So again, I just want to personally thank you before this podcast started. And please subscribe, tell your friends. Really do appreciate those emails that I'm getting, and I'm not kidding. I really do appreciate them. Please leave a review on iTunes. We really do appreciate your support. Here's an incredible interview coming up in just a few moments with my very good friend, Maryellen Hooper. Here's the podcast. Hey, this is Ricky Kalmon, and welcome to another episode of Amplify Your Mindset. I'm truly excited to have somebody on, very special, somebody I've known for 25 plus years. My good friend and one of the funniest comedians, Maryellen Hooper, is in the house. Welcome, Maryellen.
Hi, Ricky. I'm glad you just said plus, 25 plus. That's a polite way to say we have never not known each other.
There you go. And for those of you who have never seen Maryellen perform, stand up, I don't know where you've been, because still when I go see you and my cheeks always hurt. Maryellen's been in the business for, I'm not even going to tell you, but your accolades are amazing. Obviously, multiple TV show appearances. On The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, you had your own Comedy Central special, Lounge Lizards. And in 1998, the comedy industry awarded you Funniest Female Stand-Up Comedian at the Comedy Awards, which is huge in our industry and such an honor. But I have to ask you, I'm going to jump right into it. Is that okay?
Wait, did I die? This sounded so like it's a tribute to me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm just going to follow you around every day and just tell you great things.
I love this podcast.
Is that okay that people call you a female comic?
Well, on my license, it does say female. So.
Right.
Yes, but I think, it's the same issue that every woman in every, any minority for that matter, you always get described as that unless you are a white male, then you don't get described as. He is the funniest white male comedian I have ever heard. Like, that just doesn't happen. He is the funniest, or he is the best white male anesthesiologist I have ever been to. It would always be, he is the funniest black comic. She is the funniest woman comedian. Anytime she's the funniest wheelchair-bound comic I have ever heard in my life. It's just what happens when you are anything but a white male, right?
Do you think about it? I mean, do you nowadays, we're starting right out on this. Does it bother you?
Occasionally, if somebody comes up to me after the show and says, "You're the funniest female comedian I've ever heard," like, who likes it? It's kind of like a compliment, but with parameters.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. I mean, you're the prettiest blonde girl I've ever seen. Now, there have been redheads that would just, kick your butt, but. You just got to look at if you're going to be upset about everything, you know what I mean? You can always find something to be upset about. And I just choose to take the compliment out of it. But I guess my proudest moment was I had a woman, as a matter of fact, interviewer. And I say that because it's the irony. And she said, "So what's the difference between being a woman comic and a male comic? I said, well, when you're a male comic, nobody asks you what it's like to be a male comic. And she was embarrassed and ashamed because she was doing this whole, article, ironically, about how women are separated. I go, just by doing the article, you're separating us. So, but, again, you take the compliment, and you could be beaten down forever if you try to nitpick everything, right? So, yeah, I try not to be bothered, and I say, oh, he thinks I'm funny, or she's awesome.
Good awareness. Good awareness. I've never asked you this question. How'd you get started?
Oh, my gosh. Well, we got started together. You don't remember? No,
25 plus years ago. What's that?
Yes. I said I'm a little bit before you, I think. I started in Florida, and there was a comedy club in Fort Lauderdale that I went to as a patron because they were huge back then. It was all the rage to go to a comedy club. And then after the show, they said that they had open mic night every Monday night. And I said, oh, my gosh, so that's how you become a comedian? I had no idea. So I was a theater major and, acting and local things. So I'm like, hey, a chance to get on stage. I'm funny-ish. People laugh at me. So I went down and watched, and I thought to myself, because I'm always that cautious, right? I have to watch people do it first. And I thought, wow, I could be at least as bad as they were. Just then. So I went home and wrote some what I thought were jokes and came back, and I did really well. But I think mostly because I had stage experience. So many guys start out without having stage experience. So they have to overcome that in addition to learning how to be funny. So I kind of had a step ahead. So I did really well, and they made me a regular, and it kept coming back. And once you get those laughs, I mean, it's very addicting, right? It's such a great way to make a living. So, yeah, I was single, and I was young, and it was the perfect time to do it. So,
well, you said something in there about writing jokes. I think that one of the misconceptions that people have is that they assume that comedians or anybody that goes on stage and starts talking, and when they're funny, that's just the way they are, and just flows right out of their mouth, because that's the art of it, is making it sound and making it come off as though you said it for the first time. But the point is that this is a business. I mean, the entertainment business is literally a structured. You start working, and it's what we do on stage as a performer. Tell me if I'm wrong. That's easy. The hard part is actually everything goes on off stage. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, some people are better at the business than others. I mean, I have to say I'm not that good at the business part, and there is certainly lots of ad-libbing for some. Some are not good at ad-libbing. So, but yeah, you definitely have to be prepared, because if you're ad-libbing something, it's not going anywhere. Like you said, you still have to do your job. So,
but writing is a business. But writing material
Absolutely.
is a business. I mean, it is structure. You're very focused. You are coming up with material. It could take you hours, and then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I got one really good thing out of it. Well, that's me. But the point is that there's so much goes on behind the scenes. No different if somebody was doing a business presentation or a sales meeting or speaking in front of a company. I mean, there's preparation. There's talent behind all that.
Well, there's even if you are do your due diligence, which a lot of people don't, but then you have to kind of do some research and find out whether you actually came up with it or if somebody's come up with it before you. So back in the day when we didn't have the internet to help us, it was kind of word of mouth, because sometimes if you hang out at a comedy club at the bar, say, and you subliminally hear somebody on stage talking about something, you very much it's very easy to go home and go, hey, I have this great idea, when actually you subconsciously heard it, over the microphone when you were just hanging out. So you have to really be careful, because the one thing you don't want is to be known as a thief or a hack or and the example I always use for new people starting out is, okay, say you're born on a deserted island and you invent this awesome thing, you're going to call it the wheel. Now you get back to mainland and realize somebody already has invented the wheel. Yeah, you invented it, you came up with it your own, but sorry, somebody beat you to it. So, and that's really frustrating for a lot of new people because they're like, but I came up with that. Like, yeah, usually the rule is if somebody else has done it on TV or recorded it, first, because we really don't have a good way to protect our material, right? We kind of have to police it ourselves. So I've lots of times have walked up to a new person and go, that's so-and-so's bit. And a lot of people think that's what you do. You just steal somebody's jokes and go on stage and do them. I have an old, Richard Pryor album. I'm just going to go do that. So that's not how it works.
So, people come to a show, they're highly entertained, they're laughing, you make them feel awesome. What, if you will, because we're going to go right into the mindset part of it, what helps you get into the mindset before you walk on stage? And you don't have to share any secrets here, but I'm curious too. I mean, what gets you motivated? What gets you into the zone, if you will?
For me, I realized it's ironic. This is a very girl thing, but getting ready for the show. So like sitting down and writing out my set list and then putting on my makeup and my outfit and just the routine that you do. It's kind of, I guess, Pavlovian, thing to do to get ready for a show. Because I know that with my children, I've gotten a bedtime routine for them. So every night, if I read them a story, they take their bath, and then they start to get sleepy. So for me, if I do the same things, then I'm going to start to get in the zone for that. Now, obviously, there's days in any job or in any day, but it's even harder, I think, in ours when you're either really upset because you just broke up with somebody, or somebody broke up with you, or you had lost a pet or family member, or you're actually sick. And we just don't have the sick days, do we? We don't have the
No.
take a personal day. So we, I've actually performed with a fever of 104 and passed out on stage. One time I had to go to the bathroom really bad, so I said, "Excuse me, I'll be right back." I walked up.
When you passed out, did you get a standing ovation?
Well, it's really crazy because people thought it was part of the show. So I guess I laid there probably for a good 2 minutes before, it was in the South. Somebody said, "You think we should call someone?" And then the manager runs up on stage and they're all, "Well, tell her we hope she gets to feeling better." They're filing out. So, yeah, you got to kind of put your game face on and go do it. But, yeah, for me, it's just the routine of writing out your set list and, putting on my makeup and getting ready. I guess the makeup could be for guys too. There's a lot of guys that wear makeup in our business. So,
but there's something said for that, because there are people that take a little thing and go, well, they can't put it aside, and it's bothering them, and they can't shut off the emotion, the traffic, whatever it was that put them in a bad mood, and then get into play. I mean, going to see a client, I mean, you can't let your emotions show on your face. Giving a presentation, you cannot let an email that you just read affect your presentation. A leader cannot be, upset because of a board meeting when they go speak to their other leadership. And I think it's a great example of, you just have to turn it off. I mean, you gave an example of passing out, which I'm sorry for laughing because you make me laugh, but
well, we can laugh about it now.
Yeah. I mean, twice in my career, I remember I had like 103 in Phoenix one time, and, we're at a sold out 600 seats. And I said, the show's going to go on. My manager's like, should I fly out? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'll just do the show. But someone take me to the hospital afterwards. And sure enough, I was just exhausted.
Right.
And I just needed an IV and fluids. there was one time in Jacksonville, same thing that happened. We had 2 shows, and I'm like, just do the show, let's go, and then just take me to the hospital afterwards. Had a bad migraine, and you just have to go and get into that zone, and you just have to just mentally push yourself
yeah,
forward.
Adrenaline will help you get you through a lot, but unless you have to go to the bathroom, I found that out. Adrenaline won't help you with that. But one thing that I realized, and this was kind of like my little, aha moment, thank you, Oprah, but was we had a night where there was bad weather and only, 20 people showed up because it was a storm warning or whatever it was. And so the other comics on the show were angry, and they were so mad that they were being forced to do a show. So they went up there and ranted and raved, and I can't believe, and blah, blah, blah. So they punished the people who actually showed up and are there to enjoy the show. Mm-hmm. So for me, I always remember, okay, I don't feel well, but all these people are here to support me, and they paid their money and they want to have a good time. So if it's a small crowd or if I don't feel good, I can't punish the people who did come out and are nice for the people who haven't shown up. That just doesn't make sense. So I have to, do a great job. And I usually have my best shows in those because it's a small, intimate crowd, and everyone there is so appreciative that you're doing your best, and they realize it. So you always just have to make the best of the situation and don't punish the people who are actually there and supporting you.
Right. Yeah. I find even myself saying, okay, if I was in the audience, what would I want to see? What would I want to hear? And I'm there to enjoy it. And you're right, whether it's 20 people or 2,000 people, you're appealing to everybody. You feel like you're always speaking to the one person you're looking at or throughout the crowd. It's a really good point, because there are people that would trade places with you in a heartbeat to have the opportunity to be on that stage and to be able to do what you do so well. Yeah.
That's a good thing though about comedy is you don't have to have the desperation, because there's no limited amount of jobs. If you're funny, you'll get work. You can't look at the competition, or if we ever looked out and go, do you know how many comedians are out there? Or listen to the people the naysayers who are like, you're crazy, there's just so many, you're never going to make it. Or you don't look at that. You just keep focused on the one step that you have to take to get closer to what you want to do. Just that next step. What's that next step? Don't look at oh my gosh, there are 5,000 million comedians out there, or, 5,000 million people who have the job that I want. You can't do that, or you'll psych yourself out.
Well, I think that's a great example. I mean, that's a business example, because there are a lot of products out there that compete against each other. But when you focus on your brand, not only the brand, the company, the culture, the services, everything you do, just focus on what you do really, really well. People will either purchase your product, use your service. I mean, look how many, stores are right next to each other that sell the exact same thing, but it's brand loyalty.
Right. Yep.
And what makes them unique. And that's why people go. So what makes, when you created, who you are, your brand, what inspires you to write material, if you will? What keeps you focused on a certain topic? Is there anything you do as a pattern or a habit?
Well, I think for me, I'm a storyteller. So I haven't created a crazy character, like Gilbert Gottfried or, Emo Phillips or one of those people. But I myself, I say to the 10th power, right? So I am a funny person in real life, and I look at life in a funny way. And I've always been the one to make the funny comments and to make everybody laugh. So that's just who I am on stage. So, when my husband and I are fixing up our house and he tells me to hold this and he electrocutes me, and instead of getting a divorce, I talk about it on stage. It saves me on therapy, saves me from being on the news for killing him. And and I have a career. So I threaten my children. I go, if you do not clean up your room, you are going in my act. If you don't make good grades on your report card, I'm taking a picture and posting it on my Facebook account. So it's, you just look at it with humor and you use everything. That's what I do. You know, there are some people who are observationalists, like Seinfeld. So he looks around him and it's not so much about him and personally, but the craziness that he has to deal with. And that's how he walks through life, complaining about the inconsistencies or the irony of life. So that's who he is on stage. So you can't go wrong with being yourself because you're a unique person, you know?
Well, you said that. It's so true, because there are people that you see on stage, and then when they walk off, it's an act, and it's it's their character, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're naturally funny. I mean, I have to always be careful when we're together in person and I have coffee in my hand not to drink when you speak, because usually you do say something that just catches me off guard and I'm spitting it out or choking on my coffee. And you know it because you're just so funny. And you have created a very unique brand, and that's what makes it so special. And as you just said, there are hundreds, thousands of comedians that have been out there, and then there's new people popping up all the time, and you have to keep yourself fresh, familiar. You got to constantly work on the brand, work on your material, and really show that why people should come back to you for your talents. It's an ongoing process.
I hear people, when I'll hear new comics say, well, what's really popular right now is, sex jokes or this jokes or that jokes, and I'm like, yeah, but what makes you laugh, right? What makes you unique? Don't worry about what is popular right now, because guess what? When that's not popular in a week, then where are you? But if you're true to yourself and do what you do, and what makes you laugh, then you're going to be in it for the long run. I mean, there's been ups and downs in this comedy business, and both of us have, stayed afloat. There's lots and lots of people who, because they weren't being true to themselves, haven't survived, and they've gone under and, had to move on to other things. But I think that's why we've been around as long as we have.
We're not going to tell anybody how long we've been doing it. Yes. We're just not going to tell them. I just asked somebody in my past interview, what keeps them going, what keeps them motivating. And I think, again, when you've been doing it as long as we've been doing it and you love what you do, there is no other, option. I mean, I can't imagine doing anything else rather than what I'm doing now. And I love this business. I love talking to people. I love to see people smile, and you can see that in what you do every single day. I mean, it's a very unique brand of a business. I mean, because again, this is a business, but the cool thing is, it's kind of like this is our entertainment, what we do, and we make a living at doing it.
Right. But you also have to evolve, because you know what? I'm not the teenage girl that started in this business talking about things that were relative to me then, and then when my 20s, when I was in a relationship, okay, so now I'm talking about that because that's what's relative to me. And so now I'm not performing at colleges anymore because that's not what the things I'm talking about. And then when I get married and I have children, and now that's what's what I'm going through, and write what you know. So now my crowds have grown with me and grown up with me, or I've gotten new people that are going through the same things that I am, or can remember going through them and enjoy, reminiscing. So it's the ever evolving stories of your life as a storyteller. So yeah, it would be ridiculous for me to still be doing the jokes that I did in my 20s.
Right.
Because that's just creepy.
No, do it, please.
That's just wrong.
Let's hear a couple. Like you said, it's an evolving business, but it's the mindset of the business, and obviously the show's called, Amplify Your Mindset. You're constantly changing the way you think about what you do in your presentation. And to do that, you have to be in sync. I think it's so different than, I think some people think you just write something and you just say it. But, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, when you write something, when the words are coming out of your mouth, you're envisioning, you're projecting, there's so many things going on between the ears. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Sometimes I have to catch myself because my mouth is saying a joke, but my mind is thinking 2 jokes ahead. And I have to whoa, get back, be present. Because what will happen is the audience will pick up that you're not as present. And I'll notice, wait, that's not getting as big a laugh as it normally does. Oh, because I'm thinking 2 jokes ahead. Okay, I'm back. Hi. And you have to, don't get ahead of yourself. And like I said, it's very important to be present, be in the moment, and don't ignore things that are happening around you. Just use them. I think that's true in any kind of business, right?
Right. So I get this question a lot. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to stop and rephrase that because I slurred my word. So I get this question a lot from people that give presentations, executives. I get the question of what can I do before a presentation to prepare because I'm nervous or I'm uptight or I'm thinking too much about failure before I even begin. What kind of advice can you give somebody if they're going to give a presentation? Because my listeners are people in business. They could be a presenter to clients, to an audience, to a leadership team, to a board. What would you say to help somebody as a tip to help them prep before a presentation?
Well, there's 2 things. One is imagine yourself in the audience watching another presenter. You want that person to do well. You don't have any animosity against that person, so you're on their side. So you have to remember that everybody there is on your side. They want you to be comfortable because when you're uncomfortable, it makes the audience uncomfortable. They can feel it. So I always pick out one person and pretend like I'm talking to that one person or a small group of people in say a cocktail party, right? So it's like the stories that you would tell at a cocktail party. You just imagine yourself speaking to a couple of people at a time. That's, the biggest thing that I think that, that you can do is just remember that everyone's on your side. And the other thing is it's kind of pointless to worry about what could go wrong before it ever goes wrong. That's wasted energy. So you could just as easily say, gosh, I'm really worried that during my speech, an airplane is going to crash through the wall and kill us all. That's just as silly as I'm really worried that I'm going to not do well. So don't worry about something until it happens. So if you're up there and you're talking and something isn't going as well as you want it to, then deal with it right then. Acknowledge it and move on. But worrying about something that hasn't even happened is a waste of your energy and will put you in the wrong mindset. It's just as silly as worrying that the pipes are going to break and the floor is going to flood during your speech. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, I absolutely agree with that because all too often I'm giving the example of a preconceived outcome has already ruled your world, has already convinced you of what's going to happen before it even happens. You're already replaying something of a negative situation or a negative outcome, and you haven't even given it a chance for the reality to even happen. So that's
right.
Awesome advice. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
Maryellen,
I have a plethora of bumper stickers.
Yes, you are. And very, very funny, and an honor to have you on. And thank you for sharing some insight. Maryellen Hooper, thank you so much for your time. And for those listeners out there, check her out, iTunes, check her out online, check her out on videos. If you see her live somewhere, she will not disappoint you. She is absolutely hysterical and makes me laugh every time I see her. Thank you so much for the
thanks,
laughs.
pal.
You have been listening to Amplify Your Mindset with Ricky Kalmon. For more information on Ricky Kalmon's corporate and personal development programs, visit rickykalmon.com.